Well, ever since I went to Lydians and found all kinds of incredible voices like Eddie Cumberbatch and Glennis Yearwood, and I found that it was possible to do big work. I'd been working before with the Southerners and in Best Village and learning the folk because I didn't know any folk. I went to Bishop's where the folk songs were in the new National Songbook. So I knew all about the British Grenadiers, but I didn't know anything about Belly and Piquet, except what I picked up at the Little Carib with Beryl McBurney and little bits from my father and Olive Walk, that there was a subculture there underneath Land of Hope and Glory that I didn't know and had to find that out. But once I settled with Lydians and heard voices and saw how far they could be stretched, then I thought, I better try and give them what they can do. Never mind, they're not professionals, they don't have no people, nobody didn't train them. Very few people trained me. And my paper chase doesn't involve music. However, I tried Verdi Requiem, the Brahms Requiem in German, then some opera, Monteverdi's Vespers. But looming over it has always been Messiah because for the hour.
Yes.
Yeah. Yes, I found that the Messiah is looming over one because it's the biggie. Now, let's say a little bit about my father. My father took care of me when he got home from work, and he was an itinerant tenor. He sang all over the place, and I went along with him. So I had my own copy of Messiah, my own publisher book, from the time I was about 10 or 11. So I've known it. But then you tell yourself, you can't do Messiah again. Everybody's done it. It's been done to the death. But what do you really know of it? You know the Hallelujah chorus. Yay. And you know maybe foreign to us a child is born, and you get nice and warm and fuzzy on a Christmas morning if you hear that on the radio. But Messiah is much, 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 much bigger than that. And there's a whole lot of stuff that needed to be investigated. If I'm being responsible to my choir, I must put this kind of music in their heads, in their hands, in their possibilities. It's a very big work, and until you engage it in its entirety, you simply can't say that you know it. I've done a lot of work on it, singing in amateur choirs abroad and that sort of thing. But even they stop, say, at the Hallelujah chorus, or they start with the Easter section, and you don't get the sense of, it's like a carnival band, section by section by section. Well, a carnival band of yesteryear. You could think of Paradise Lost in that kind of way, or Peking, the Forbidden City. We've done that kind of, or a panorama, where it starts at 10 o'clock in the morning and 3 o'clock next morning, band still beating. And everybody is there saying, oh dear, it's too long. But it is not too long. Just have a little courage and a little fortitude, because there are many, many, many treasures inside it there. And when you try to make art efficient, when you bring marketing to art, you are going to lose. Of that I am quite certain. And that brevity is not always the soul of wit. The other piece that I was thinking hard about for this Christmas, was the Bach Christmas Oratorio, which I started to learn when I was at school. Indiana myself participated in bits of it that Mrs. Spence did. But somehow it was a kind of vibe that I got. I thought, nah, let's do this. Let's do this.
So what are you bringing to the
What am I
Messiah?
bringing to Messiah? Well, hopefully the right notes. Hopefully people being able to sing their runs. But also to try to see where the Trinidadian voice fits into a Baroque piece of music. Now, I know about the Baroque and the pan. I've done a lot of work with that. And it is incredible how suitable, if I can switch it around a bit, Baroque music is for pan. What Bugsy and Ray do, and what Robbie Greenwich does, the great pan composers or the Bradley arrangements, are very similar to that layered quality that we call counterpoint. And because the pan is not vividly different in terms of its timbre from one instrument to the next, you get to hear these separate lines in quite fresh and unusual ways. When you put a Trinidadian voice in that, and I'm very clear in my mind that a Trinidadian voice is what it is, and it's not another thing. I remember in music festival, the British adjudicators would come down and they would wonder at how these little girls have these big voices, and they would be confused by them. And they would be unhappy with them because they didn't fit the British schoolgirl stereotype, and they don't. But some ears hear those voices, so that when people like Leontine Price goes to Italy or Marian Anderson goes to Germany, they hear. And then they get great and famous. And I've been very interested in timbre and quality and what people hear and why they hear and why they respond. And if you've taken all the music that you can possibly find and sit down and think about it and listen to it and work at it and do it. It's like taking Desperados to Carnegie Hall to play with the whole big symphony orchestra. Well, having done it, I now know that there has to be a symphony orchestra of the future that will have to include the pan. Because what the pan does is it absorbs all the orchestral textures and gives you this big, beautiful sound that is quite unlike anything I've ever heard before. And that's really what I'm trying to do. The other thing, of course, is that I'm altering the rhythms a little bit by the inclusion of certain elements of percussion which are here and which have miraculously survived African drums and tassel drums. The other day, I was somewhere doing something and I was told by somebody big that they couldn't stand the tassel drum. It grated on their ears. But seeing as how I'm living here, you understand? It would not occur to me to make a judgment like that. Because if you listen as opposed to simply hear, if you could just deal with our music not as music in a mall over which you try to talk, or worse still, when you try to use your cellular telephone, then there's a whole world of wonderful, wonderful sound out there that we haven't begun to listen to. And this is where I've put in the Messiah.
Talk to me a bit about Lydians and that you don't have auditions and so on.
Oh, no, look, everywhere in this world you go, you try to get a new passport. You have to come back tomorrow, pass wrong the backyard, take test now. No. I really do. It's my little, number one, I'm not an excluding person. I don't approve of it. I don't believe in it. I don't know why you came. That's not my business. I have to find a space for you and try my best. And it's hard because you don't know what you're going to get. But if you listen and you look and you talk sometimes, you will hear the most amazing things. People come from all sorts of backgrounds, and I have people in choir who've never been into the Queen's Hall. And I mean, for me to get you into the hall in your uniform, able to sing 1/3 of the music, as far as I'm concerned, I win. Because that little mantra, you know, until all have crossed, none have crossed, and some we have to carry, kicking and screaming.
So what consequences does that have for the quality of the music?
Well, you see, ensemble singing, when singing together, you have to carry somebody with you. You have to help somebody. You are brighter, you are stronger, you have a better voice, you're quicker. Person next to you, not bright, singing so good, but you help them along. And in that process, there's a bonding that takes place, which I can't quantify or anything, but which makes it makes each person better for it. And I'm really in pursuit of goodness. You know, the good, but in a very moral sort of, that, you know, you can't be good and me bad and expect that we could get along in this world. It ain't going to happen. So let me call you in one time before you put a gun in your waist. That's my story.
You're putting some movement into the Messiah.
Yes. Now, again, go back to the Baroque. Embedded in the Baroque is dance. The jig, the gaillard, the minuet, all of those are intrinsic to the music. As soon as you start to move, I mean, Somali girls came in the other night, put little rhythm, they know this song, but they know that they could dance, and they know when it's time to dance. So you might call in another choreographer and say, you could shape that a little bit, let's neaten that up a bit. But you really want to get that response from the music to them and back again. You know, I was talking about the court at Stuttgart, which was a great crossroads. And people in that time did not travel lightly. And so they took their musicians with them and so on. And I saw this Baroque concert. I was there, you know, with all sorts of Turkish tambourines mixed up with harpsichord and viola da gamba. And I'm thinking, man, this is me. I feel at home.
Right. What? Just talk a little bit again about the blending of harpsichord, pan, drums. What do each bring to it?
Well, I can strip it down and be quite clinical and say that the harpsichord gives a kind of precise edge to the notes, to the way in which the sound is delivered. The pan sound is rather more cushiony. So when you put those two together, you get both a quality of the mellow plus the precise. Now you put a voice like Eddie Cumberbatch's into that, and it's magical. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't work. But by and large, until you do it, you don't know. You cannot deal with this kind of thing in this kind of situation on the sidelines, making decisions in a jacket and tie around a board table. You will get it wrong. But if you go out in the road, there is a chance that you will hear the voice of the people and you will get it right. I sought to hear the voice of God and climbed the topmost steeple, but God declared, come down again. I dwell among the people.